The wrench slipped from Kai's grease-stained fingers, clattering against the crystalline floor of the palace's maintenance shaft. He'd been working on the environmental systems for 6 hours straight, his back aching from crawling through tight spaces that the palace's elegant architecture desperately tried to hide. "Mechanic Kai Rivera." The voice echoed through the shaft, formal and cold. He froze. That was the captain of the Royal Guard. What could they possibly want with him? When he emerged into the grand hallway, still wiping oil from his hands, he found himself surrounded by 7-foot-tall Xylothian warriors, their iridescent skin gleaming under the bioluminescent chandeliers. At their center stood Captain Vorek, his 4 arms crossed in what Kai had learned was a gesture of supreme displeasure. "You're to come with us. Immediately." Kai's mind raced through every regulation he might have violated. Had he accidentally triggered some sacred system? Touched something forbidden? The Xylothian Empire didn't exactly come with an instruction manual for human mechanics. They led him through corridors he'd only glimpsed while servicing wall panels. Corridors where the marble seemed to pulse with inner light, where the very air shimmered with wealth and power. Finally, they stopped before doors that reached 30 feet high, carved from a single piece of midnight crystal. The doors opened silently. Queen Elisara sat upon a throne that seemed grown rather than built, its organic curves matching the graceful lines of her body. She was breathtaking, in a way that made Kai forget to breathe. 7 feet of elegant power, her skin shifting through shades of deep purple and blue like a living nebula, her eyes twin stars of brilliant amber. "Leave us," she commanded. The guards hesitated. Captain Vorek's secondary arms twitched. "Your Radiance, security protocol." "I said leave." When the doors closed behind them, the silence felt heavy enough to crush Kai's lungs. The Queen rose from her throne with fluid grace, descending the steps toward him. Up close, he could see the delicate patterns that played across her skin, like constellations mapping themselves in real time. "You're wondering why you're here," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made his chest resonate. "The thought crossed my mind, Your Radiance." A smile played at the corner of her lips. "I need someone I can trust, absolutely. Someone who sees the palace as systems and solutions, not politics and power. Someone who doesn't want my throne, my wealth, or my favor." She stopped directly in front of him. "I'm making you my personal guard." Kai blinked, then blinked again. I'm a mechanic. I don't even carry a weapon." "Exactly," she said, and there was something almost vulnerable in those star-bright eyes. "Will you accept?" He should have said no, should have laughed at the absurdity. Instead, he found himself saying yes. He had no idea he'd just agreed to change the fate of an empire. The quarters they assigned Kai were larger than his entire childhood home on Earth. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the capital city of Zerathes, where towers of living crystal reached toward 3 moons. A wardrobe contained guard uniforms tailored to his human frame, deep midnight blue with the Queen's silver insignia. He was examining the strange, flexible armor when his door chimed. "Enter," he called, expecting a servant. Instead, Queen Elisara stepped inside, now dressed in flowing robes rather than her formal regalia. Seeing her in private quarters felt intensely intimate, and Kai's pulse quickened. "I wanted to speak with you before tomorrow's chaos begins," she said, moving to the window. "They're going to test you, Kai. The guards, the nobles, even my own council. They'll want to see you fail." "I probably will fail," he admitted. "Your Radiance, I still don't understand why—" "Elise," she interrupted softly. "When we're alone, call me Elise." The informality shocked him into silence. She turned to face him, and in the moonlight, her skin shimmered with what looked like nervousness. "3 weeks ago, I survived an assassination attempt," she said quietly. "Someone poisoned the environmental systems in my private chambers, specifically the atmospheric regulators. Every guard, every advisor, every expert in the palace was running diagnostics, looking for complex threats. You know who found it?" Kai shook his head. You. You left a note with maintenance. Someone's been tampering with the mixture ratios in Sector 7. Might want to check it before someone gets hurt. You had no idea it was my sector. You simply noticed something wrong and reported it. That's just basic competence, he said. Exactly. While everyone else was drowning in paranoia and politics, you simply fixed what was broken. She stepped closer. I need that, Kai. I need someone who sees clearly. Before he could respond, alarms shrieked through the palace. Elise's whole body tensed, her skin flashing warning red. Security breach, third wing. They ran together through corridors that suddenly filled with guards. Kai followed Elise's lead, his longer human legs struggling to match her graceful speed. They burst into the throne room to find 3 armored figures, rebels from their crude insignia, holding the council captive. Your Radiance, the lead rebel sneered. How convenient. Surrender your authority to the High Council, or... Kai wasn't listening. His eyes had caught something the rebels apparently hadn't considered. They positioned themselves directly beneath the primary cooling vents for the throne room's environmental system, the same system he'd just serviced that afternoon. His fingers flew across his personal tablet, accessing maintenance protocols. The rebels were still making demands when Kai triggered an emergency purge cycle. Supercooled gas erupted from the vents, flash freezing the rebels where they stood. The silence that followed was profound. Elise turned to him, her amber eyes wide. How did you... They were standing in the maintenance zone, he said simply. Anyone who actually worked in the palace would know better. After that night, something shifted. The guards stopped sneering at Kai and started asking questions. How had he thought of that? What else could the palace systems do? He found himself training them on tactical uses of environmental controls, turning maintenance knowledge into defensive strategy. But it was his relationship with Elise that truly transformed. She began summoning him to strategy meetings, asking his opinion on security measures. More than that, she started visiting his quarters late at night when the formal mask of queenship could slip away. They'd talk for hours about his life on Earth, about her burden of leadership, about the loneliness of being the only one in a room who truly carried the weight. One night, 6 weeks after his appointment, she arrived looking exhausted. Her skin flickered erratically through colors, a sign of deep stress he'd learned to recognize. The High Council wants me to marry Prince Theron of the Outer Rim, she said, collapsing onto his couch. For political alliance. Do you want to? Kai asked carefully, bringing her tea that he'd learned to brew the way she liked. What I want hasn't mattered since I took the throne at 16. She accepted the cup, their fingers brushing. The contact sent electricity up Kai's arm. Every decision is about the empire, the stability, the future. Never about... About? She looked at him then, really looked at him, and her skin began cycling through shades he'd never seen before. Deep crimsons and gold, colors that, according to his research, indicated intense emotion among her people. About the fact that the only person I want to be near is an earth mechanic who doesn't care about my power or my crown. The words came out rushed, vulnerable. The only person who sees me as a lease, not as a throne to manipulate. Kai's breath caught. Elise. She set down the tea and moved closer, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if this is all in my head. Instead of answering, Kai reached up and gently traced a constellation pattern on her cheek. She leaned into his touch with a sound that was almost a purr, her eyes closing. You're not wrong, he whispered. When she kissed him, it was like touching starlight. Her lips were warmer than human ones, her skin literally glowing where he touched her. She tasted like ozone and honey, foreign and perfect. His hands found her waist, feeling the subtle differences in her physiology, the way her body curved and moved, both familiar and wonderfully alien. She pulled back slightly, breathing hard. This is dangerous, for both of us. I know, he said, pulling her back. They spent that night learning each other, the way she shivered when he kissed the curve where her neck met her shoulder, the way her skin pulsed with bioluminescence as pleasure built, the way she whispered his name like a prayer when his hands explored the ridges and hollows of her body, so similar to human anatomy yet uniquely, beautifully different. Afterward, she lay against his chest, tracing patterns on his skin. I can't marry Theron. Then don't. It's not that simple. The Alliance... Find another way. Kai tilted her face up to his. You're the most brilliant person I've ever met. There's always another way. She smiled, really smiled, and her whole body seemed to glow with it. How did I ever rule without you? Neither of them saw the shadow that slipped away from Kai's door, or knew that their secret was already traveling through the palace like wildfire. The summons came at dawn. Formal, cold, undeniable. Kai was to appear before the High Council immediately. Elise tried to stop it. He's under my personal protection. Which is precisely why we must question his influence, Your Radiance, Council Leader Venatrix said smoothly. Her skin was the gray of old stone, her 4 eyes calculating. Surely you understand the appearance of impropriety. Kai squeezed Elise's hand once, briefly, before following the guards. The council chamber was circular, with the ruling members seated in a ring like judges, or predators. Mechanic Rivera, Venatrix began. You've risen remarkably quickly from maintenance worker to the Queen's closest confidant. Some might call it suspicious. Some might call it competence, Kai replied evenly. A ripple of whispers. Humans weren't supposed to speak so boldly to the council. We have reports, another council member said, leaning forward, that you and Her Radiance have been spending considerable private time together, that your relationship has become inappropriate. Kai's jaw tightened. My relationship with the Queen is none of your concern. Everything concerning Her Radiance is our concern, Venatrix snapped. You're a human, a mechanic. You have no title, no lineage, no right to her favor, and certainly no right to her. Enough. Elise's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. She stood in the entrance, dressed in full royal regalia, every inch the conquering queen her ancestors had been. Her skin blazed with angry reds and oranges. You dare question my personal choices? You dare summon my guard without my consent? She descended into the chamber, and council members actually leaned back. Have you forgotten who rules here? Your Radiance, Venatrix said carefully. We speak only out of concern for the Empire's stability. An alliance with Prince Theron is unnecessary. I've negotiated a trade agreement with the Outer Rim that supersedes any marriage alliance. It was Kai's idea, actually. He suggested we offer them exclusive rights to our agricultural crystal technology in exchange for military cooperation. Kai blinked. They'd discussed that for maybe 10 minutes 3 nights ago. She'd actually made it happen? Venatrix's skin flashed through colors of frustration. That doesn't address the impropriety. There is no impropriety, Elise said coldly. Kai has proven his value to this empire repeatedly. He's thwarted 2 assassination attempts, revolutionized our security protocols, and advised me on matters of state with more wisdom than this entire council combined. She paused. And yes, I love him. I will not apologize for that. The chamber erupted. Half the council shouting in outrage, the other half in shock. Kai felt his heart hammering against his ribs. She just publicly declared her feelings in front of the most powerful people in the Empire. Your Radiance, Venatrix said, her voice dangerously quiet. If you persist in this dalliance, the council may be forced to reconsider your fitness to rule. Elise smiled, and it was the smile of a predator. Then I suppose you'll need to find a new queen, because I won't give him up. Not for you, not for politics, not for anything. The palace descended into chaos. 3 council members demanded Elise's abdication. 5 more called for Kai's exile. The military split between loyalty to the crown and loyalty to tradition. For 72 hours, it felt like the entire empire held its breath. Kai found Elise in her private chambers, staring out at the city. You shouldn't have done that, he said quietly. You're risking everything. I know exactly what I'm risking. She turned to face him. "The question is whether you know what I'm choosing." He crossed to her, taking her hands. "I'm nobody, Elise. A mechanic from Earth. I can't give you political alliances or powerful heirs or—" "You give me clarity," she interrupted. "You give me honesty. You give me someone who sees me, really sees me, not what I can do for them." Her skin shimmered through shades of deep blue. "Do you know what that's worth to someone in my position? Is it worth your throne?" She pulled him closer, her hand sliding up his chest. "The throne is stone and metal. Power is an illusion maintained by fear and tradition. But what we have," she pressed her forehead to his, "that's real. That's the only thing in this palace that's truly real." "Elise," he kissed her, trying to pour every ounce of his feelings into it. "I love you, but I don't want to be the reason you lose everything." "You're not," she whispered against his lips. "You're the reason I finally understand what I'm fighting for." The door chimed urgently. Captain Vorik entered, his expression grim. "Your Radiance, the Council has reached a decision." The throne room was packed with nobles, guards, and dignitaries. Venatrix stood at its center, holding a data crystal. "Queen Elisara, the High Council has deliberated on this situation. We've decided on a compromise." Elise's hand found Kai's, hidden in the folds of her robes. "Speak." "You may retain your throne," Venatrix said, "but Mechanic Rivera must submit to a trial by ordeal, the ancient test of worthiness. If he survives, the Council will recognize his place at your side." "Absolutely not," Elise said immediately. "I'll do it," Kai said. She spun to face him. "Kai, no!" "If this is what it takes, I'll do it." He looked at Venatrix. "What's the trial?" The old council member smiled coldly. "You must survive 1 hour in the crystal maze beneath the palace. A labyrinth of maintenance tunnels and power conduits where the Empire's most dangerous criminals are sent to die. Most last mere minutes before the heat, radiation, and automated defenses kill them." Kai felt Elise's hand tighten around his, but he also felt something else, a strange confidence. "The maintenance tunnels? The ones I've been servicing for the past 2 months?" Venatrix's smile faltered. "The ones where I personally installed new safety protocols and memorized every junction, every system, every emergency shutoff?" Kai grinned. "Sure, I'll take that trial." 1 hour later, Kai emerged from the crystal maze, sweating but alive. He'd navigated the lethal labyrinth like it was his own backyard, because essentially it was. He'd even taken the opportunity to fix a malfunctioning coolant valve that had been on his maintenance list. The Council had no choice but to honor their agreement. That night, Elise held a small, private ceremony. No grand celebration, no political theater, just the two of them and a handful of trusted friends. She stood before him in simple robes, her skin cycling through every color of joy and love. "I was supposed to marry a prince," she said. "Build an empire through strategic alliances and cold calculation. Instead, I fell in love with a mechanic who saw broken systems and simply fixed them." She took his hands. "You changed everything, Kai Rivera. Not with power or politics, but with competence, honesty, and a heart that somehow saw past the crown to the person beneath." "I love you," he said simply. "Every impossible, beautiful, brilliant part of you." When they kissed, the small gathering erupted in applause. Kai pulled back, looking into those star-bright eyes. "So what now? What happens to the mechanic who married a queen?" Elise smiled. "He helps her rebuild an empire on truth instead of tradition. And maybe—" She pulled him closer, her voice dropping to an intimate whisper that made his pulse race. "Tonight we stop worrying about empires and councils and just be two people who found something impossible in the middle of all this chaos." "Best idea you've had all day," he murmured against her lips. As they left for her chambers, hand in hand, Kai realized that he'd come to this planet with nothing but a maintenance contract and a toolbox. Now he was walking beside a queen who'd risked everything for him. Some people searched their whole lives for purpose. Kai found his in the most unexpected place, in the eyes of a woman who saw past every difference between them to the connection that mattered. She'd given up political advantage, traditional expectations, and the approval of her entire ruling class for him, and he'd do the same for her. After all, what was a galaxy compared to this? The end.